Hi everybody, my name is Anthony and I'm one of the studio librarians here at the Sachem Public Library. Today we're going to be going over how to make an Arduino dot matrix. So let's jump into it and get started. So one of the first things I suggest you do is take all of the parts you got in the kit out of their bags and kind of lay them out in front of you. So the parts that you should have received with your kit from the studio are this USB cord, the little dot matrix, a little wire harness, and an Arduino Uno. We're going to start with the physical connection of the wires to the dot matrix. So you're going to grab your wiring harness and you're going to hold it in just like I have in my hands. This black wire here is going to go on the leftmost pin that says VCC, and you'll see little screen printed letters on here that will correspond to the VCC. Okay, then you take the white wire and you're going to connect it to the GND, which stands for ground. Okay, then you're going to take your gray wire and you're going to attach that to where it says DIN, which stands for data in. Okay, you're going to take your purple wire and you're going to put that in CS, and your blue wire and you're going to put that one in CLK. Okay, and now the connections to your dot matrix are done. Okay, so now we're going to connect the other end of that wiring harness to your Arduino Uno. So you're going to start with the black wire, which is connected to the VCC on the dot matrix. You're going to connect that to where it says 5 volts on the Arduino Uno. Now you'll see 5 volts printed on one side, and you'll see a little pin sticking through. On the opposite side of the board, you'll see that pin. So you want that pin that's lined up with the 5 volts to be the one you plug the black wire into. Now the white wire, which in this case it was the GND on the dot matrix, which stands for ground, is going to go into the GND pin, also ground, on the Arduino Uno. So that is going to slide over that. So in this case, if you're starting from the right, the black wire is on the 4th pin in and the white wire is on the 2nd pin in. Okay, now you're going to take the other end of the wiring harness and we're going to put that on the pins on the other side of the Arduino Uno. So in this case we're going to take the blue wire and we're going to put that on pin 10, which is the 3rd one from the right on this side. Then we're going to take the purple one and put that in pin 11. That's going to be the 2nd one in from the right. And then you're going to do the gray one as the last pin on D12, which is that last pin on that side. And then you have this all connected. Okay, so now we're going to take the USB cable and the Arduino that's now hooked up to the dot matrix, and we're going to take this end of the USB cable and we're going to put it into the Arduino Uno. Okay, and then we're going to take this USB end and put it into our computer, or whichever device we're using. Now that we have the physical setup of our Arduino ready to go, we have all the wires connected, and now we have our Arduino Uno connected to a USB port on our computer. We're going to get ready to set up the software and coding part of it. So in this case, we're going to use an online web editor, which means you don't have to download the entire Arduino software package to send code to your board. We can do it online through a web browser. So we're going to open up a web browser and we're going to go to create.arduino.cc, and it's going to bring you to a screen that looks like this. Okay, what we're going to be concerned with in this case, if you don't already have an account, we're going to go up and go to sign in, and this little window is going to come up. If you have played with Arduino before, if you've played with this, then you may already have a username or password, but I'm going to assume in most cases that you would have to create an account if you're new to this. So you can do a couple of things. You can follow along with the steps to create an account, or you can also use like a Google email address or an Apple account and connect them, so it kind of automatically logs you in with those credentials. Whichever way you want to go, whichever you're comfortable with, you just have to finish making your account, and then we'll pick it up after you guys have made that account. Okay, so now that you have an account created, you're going to see a screen that looks like this. You're going to click on Web Editor, because that's what we're going to be concerned with today. You're going to wait for it to load up. Okay, so you're going to see a screen very, very similar to this. So what you're going to do is focus on this yellow bar up at the top. Now what this is telling you is that it needs a plugin to install on your computer to be able to take the code from this web editor and then download it onto the Arduino that's connected to your computer. So in this case, I had it installed. I uninstalled it just so I could do this example. Okay, so I'm going to click on Learn More. It's going to bring up a little box where it says Install the Agent. I'm going to click on that, and what that does is brings up this little window. Okay, so you can read all this and go over it. It lets you know why and what you're doing, and then you can click Start. And then I'm going to download for Windows 64. And then you could probably see on the bottom left hand of my web browser that this little program is downloaded and it's waiting for me to run it. Now your computer will probably have this little spinning circle and also say looking for installed agent. It's just waiting for you to finish that install. So wherever that file downloaded to, you have to go find it and then run it. And you can follow all the prompts for that. Okay, so I'll bring and I'll show you what it looks like on mine. Okay, so now I'm going to go next. You can read all the terms. I've already seen these before. You can do accept. It's just where it's going to install it. Now, one thing you do want to be mindful of, it does ask you if you're planning to use a browser other than Google Chrome or Mozilla. So if you're using Microsoft Edge or something else, you can click yes, but in this case I'm going to click no. I'm going to be using Chrome. And that's the web browser that I would recommend doing this with. Okay, I'm just going to wait for it to finish. And then when it's all done, I'm going to click finish. Now, I took too long, so now it's asking me and telling me we're not able to detect the installed agent. So I'm just going to hit try again. And we'll see if it detects it now. Okay, and now it tells me agent correctly installed. Give you some little details about now that little icon at the bottom will now be there. Okay, it says we're good to go. And now I'm going to click this link to go back to the web editor. Okay, so once you have the plugin installed, you're probably going to see a little pop-up over here that says board connected, and it'll give you some other prompts too. And what we're going to do is make sure we actually have that board selected in this little drop down here. Okay, so mine kind of automatically configured, so it connects to my board right away. But in case yours doesn't, you can click this drop down. You may have an option here that says Arduino Nano at whatever COM it's using. It doesn't matter this number. It does not have to say COM6. It could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's however your computer is set up and when you plug that USB port into it. All right, so if you have this, you can click on that, and that's the one we're going to use. Okay, it'll also come up with a little prompt that either says connected or it's linking a little sketch to it. But if that doesn't come up, you can do select other board and port. Now, the really important thing is that it does have this port. If it doesn't have this port, there might be something wrong with the way your USB is connected, or if the Arduino is plugged into your computer. So I'm actually looking for Arduino Nano, just the type of board, and then it's going to make sure it's on COM6 for me. And pretty much whatever COM comes up here for you, that's the one you're going to want to make sure is checked, and you can click OK. And it's set again, now linked to it. Alright, so now your Arduino is all set up and ready to receive code, and now we're going to go over how to get code onto it. Okay, before this video, we've gone live on YouTube. We've emailed all of the registered participants in this program a file that has the code that we're going to use to tell our Arduino how to run the matrix. So in this case, we're going to find that file. So wherever you downloaded it to, we're going to go looking for it. So in this case, we're going to go over to import. Okay, it's going to bring up this little prompt, and that's fine. You just click import, and then it's going to pop up and it'll show you the files on your computer. So you can go to wherever you have it downloaded, maybe you want your downloads folder, where maybe it's on your desktop, wherever you have your downloads from your web browser kind of set to go. So in this case, I'm going to click on the led.matrix project. Now this is zipped. This is a zipped folder, and this software will actually automatically unzip it and take the code out of it. So you can just take that zip file you downloaded from the email we sent you and then upload it right into this editor. It actually makes it really quick and easy. Okay. Now, just as a test, we're going to upload this code to our board. And now that we have the board all set up, we're going to send some code to it for a test, just to make sure everything is working. So we're just going to double check again. We're going to click this drop down. We're going to make sure we have a board selected, that it's on a COM port. Click that again. Okay, so that looks like it's good. And now we're going to click upload and save. And this is going to send all this code to the board. We're going to go over what this code does in a second. We just want to make sure all your matrices are working before we go any further. Okay, so we're going to wait for it to upload. You'll see a little information on the bottom letting you know it's all done. Okay, and it'll say success. So now, if everything is wired right and configured right, you should be able to look down at your matrix board and see a little line kind of show up on your board growing in a diagonal. Okay, if that's working, then you know everything is set up correctly and we can go on. If for any reason it's not working, you can go back and try some of the other steps just to make sure everything is configured correctly. So now that we have a working matrix board, we're going to go over a little bit about what the code in here does. So for the most part, we're going to be concerned with this area here. Okay, and we're also going to be concerned with this area down here. And those are the things we're going to edit to make our matrix board do different things. Now, you'll see over here you have byte A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, and I. Okay, these are, for lack of a better term, we'll call them slides for your light up matrix board. So in the case of what your matrix board is probably still doing now, from this sample code, is kind of running these slides. So you can kind of think of it as a PowerPoint presentation that it's kind of going in order. So in this case, when you look at your matrix board and you see that one dot and then the next dot and the next dot, that's what basically this code is doing. So this line of code right here is that first dot, just that one dot on the whole screen. And then this one right here is now adding another dot. And this one's adding another one. You can kind of think of it as like a little picture flip book too. So this is going to be about like 8 slides that we're able to work with. Okay, so if we scroll a little further down, we'll have this different area that we showed off before, is where it says print byte. And then it'll have in parentheses a letter right here. Okay, so this letter A corresponds to this byte A up here. Okay, so this is saying A will display this image, which in this case is one dot in the lower left hand corner. Okay, so you're saying down here it's telling it to display that, and this little delay 1000 is a timer, which basically we can adjust the timing on it. We can make it shorter and we can make it longer, and we can play around to see the exact effect that has. Now I'm going to show you a couple of practical examples just to make this a little bit clearer. Before we dive into those examples, I'm going to show you a handy piece of software that will actually turn or give you a visual representation of the display and generate code like this for you. Because code like this is not too easy to figure out, we're going to use a little tool to help us. So including in that email where you got the file for this project, there was also a link to a website, which we're going to go do, that I already brought up here. Okay, and on this website they had this handy little 8x8 online LED hex and binary pattern generator for Arduino. And what this allows us to do is to create our image or letter or whatever we want to kind of make on our dot matrix on here, and then it'll make the code for us that we can take and put back in our little Arduino editor. Saves us a bit of time figuring all that out. So in this case, I'm going to create a quick border. So I'm going to go around and I'm going to click all around the border. Okay, so now I have a border. Okay, so what this is doing, this little LED dot matrix basically only has the red color and it's off and on. And that's what this code is basically telling each of those little lights to either be off or on. When I switch them to 1 and I click on them, they're red here, that means on, 0 means off. So anything that's white and says 0 will not display, will not turn on. Anything that's red and 1 will light up on your screen. Okay, so what we're going to do is go over to where it says hex values. We're going to highlight it. We're going to right click. We're going to click copy. So now that copied this code, which actually makes it really easy because we don't have to type it in ourselves. We're going to go back to our Arduino editor and we're going to add that line of code. Okay, so to do that, we are going to replace this whole thing, okay, including the 2 brackets. We can highlight the whole thing. You can see exactly what you're highlighting. The color will change on here, and you can hit Control V on your keyboard to paste it, or doesn't seem to want to let me do it here, so we're going to hit Control, we're going to highlight it again. Now sometimes you'll be able to right click that and click paste. In this case we're going to do Control V. Now you can see those numbers changed. Okay. So of course, now that we see those numbers changed, we can upload it to our board to see if those changes take effect. So we're going to go up to Upload and Save. We're going to click it. It's going to go through its process of uploading to the board. Just give it a second, and when it's all done, it'll say success. And now, when you look down on your board, it's going to go through all those slides again. So now the first slide, instead of being that first light up dot, will now be a border around the whole thing. Okay, and we're going to do some more examples just to go over it again. Okay, now we're back on our little generator again for the next example. Just so we don't have to turn all these off again, I'm just going to hit clear. It clears everything out. And now I'm going to shrink our border. And now I have that same border, I just kind of shrunk it in one row. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to highlight, I'm going to copy, I'm going to bring it to the Arduino editor. Now that first line we edited already, I'm not going to edit that one again. I'm going to go to slide B. And I'm going to hit Control V. Ooh, I left too many brackets in there. Okay. Now that's what it should look like. And now I'm going to upload it again. Just make sure my changes worked. And now you should see on your board you have a big border and then a small border, and then it goes through the rest of the slides. Okay, so you can make whatever shape or letter you want using that generator and bring it into here. And now I'm going to show you how to shorten up these slides. Maybe you only wanted to do 1, maybe you only wanted to do 2. And maybe you want to change how long those slides are displaying. So we'll go through some examples of that. Okay, so in the essence of time, I went back to our generator and created a couple of borders that were shrinking in size, just like the ones we were doing before, and then put that code, just like I showed you before, in our slides here. Okay. Now, say you have all these slides here, but you only wanted 4 images or whatever you created. You only need 4 slides or 5 slides or 6 slides or 7 slides. There's a way to change that. So we're going to go down to where it says void loop. Now this area is what your Arduino dot matrix is actually displaying. So before I showed you that they have, see this print byte A, and that corresponds to A up here, or this slide up here. That's telling it to display for that amount of time, which, like I said before, we can adjust. So in this case, I'm only using A, B, C, and D, and I'm not using E, F, G, H, and I at the moment. Okay, so instead of deleting those from here, I'm going to go down here, and I'm going to get rid of them from down here. So I'm only using A, B, C, D right now. So I'm going to highlight the parts I want to get rid of and delete, and now they're no longer there anymore. So if you're following along with this example and you want to test it, now it's only going to display my slides A, B, C, and D. So we can click upload, and we can test to see that that worked. Okay, and if everything's working correctly and you followed this exact sample so far, you should have a shrinking box that kind of displays over and over on your dot matrix. Now, say you wanted your animation, in this case, to be slower or faster. So maybe I wanted those boxes to constantly shrink. Looks like it's strobing and shrinking very quickly. I can do that by decreasing the delay here. So if I want it quicker, you have to decrease the delay. So in this case, I'm going to go to 500, and I'm going to put 500 in all these parentheses. Okay, and then I'm going to click upload. Okay, and now if you look down at your matrix board, it should be doing that animation a lot quicker. Now let's say I want to go even faster. So I'm going to decrease the time even more. Go down to 100. Okay, and we're going to upload that. And now on your board, it's probably going to be shrinking very, very quickly. It actually looks pretty cool. Now, say you wanted to use all of these slides, and we just deleted these down here. So you can easily type the code to put them back in there. So in this case, we can just kind of copy the code that's above. So we can do print byte, exactly how it's spelled up there, do parentheses, and then you can put the letter of your slide in there. So in this case, I got rid of E through I, so I'm going to add E back. Okay, so you have print byte parentheses E, don't forget the semicolon. And I'm going to hit enter to go to the next line, and I'm going to do delay, and I'm going to add 100. Okay, so if you're following along with this exact example, if I upload this again, you're going to have, whoops. Okay, so this is a common mistake, and I'm glad I made it here, and I'll show you guys not to do it. So that's why that semicolon is very important. It lets the Arduino know that that is the end of the line of code. You see, I forgot it, and it threw a little error. So now I put it back, and I uploaded it. And remember, if you always get into too much trouble, you can just download the file again, and from the email we sent you, just upload it and you can start over, just so you have a clean slate, just in case you get confused. But now, if you do it, you're going to have a shrinking box, and then you're going to have a line show up, and then it goes back, and it's just going to cycle over and over and over. Okay, so we're going to do another couple of examples, just to go over some different things you can do. Okay, so in this next example I'm going to show you, I'm going to have my dot matrix set high. So we're going to try to create the letter H on here. It may not be perfect, but you can play around and get the shape exactly right. Okay, So, whoops, this one. So now I have that code. And follow that same process. Going to copy, go back to the editor. In this case, I'm going to overwrite slide A. Okay, once that is all highlighted, including the brackets, I'm going to hit Control V again, and it pastes it right in there. Okay, so that was my H. Let me go back and make an I. So let's do it this way. Maybe a little misshapen, but it'll work for this example. Oops. Okay, like that. Hit copy again. Back to the code. In this case, I'm going to overwrite slide B. Remember, don't forget to highlight everything, including those brackets. Everything I've highlighted there is what you want to do. Then Control V on the keyboard again. And now I have my H as slide A and my I as slide B. Okay, and I kind of left the other ones for now. So I'm going to go down to where it says print byte, and right now I only need print byte A and print byte E. So that's basically saying I just print slide A and print slide B, and I'm going to speed it up. Make it a little longer to make it just on here. Okay. So the higher this value, the longer something is going to display on the screen. Alright, so once I have that, I'm going to click Upload. I'm going to wait for it to say success. And then I'm going to look down at my screen. And now your little matrix should say hi. Okay, we're going to do one more example, but this time we're not going to do letters. We're going to do basic shape. So in this case, we'll do simple square. And you can get as creative as you want. You can make hearts, you can make little pictures, whatever you can do by turning these zeros and ones on and off. Okay, so I'm going to fill in a little square. I'm going to copy it. Bring it over and replace slide A yet again, and I'm going to go back. Now this time I'm going to try and select the inverse of this, so I'm going to turn these off. Try to turn on the ones I had not selected before, just to get a different effect. Save that code. And I'm going to use slide B again. I'm going to go down. Now I already have it set for A and B because those are the ones I'm using right now, and I'm just going to make the delay longer. So it was originally 1000. I'm going to make it 2000 now, so each image displays longer. And I'm going to upload that. Now if you follow along with this example, you're going to have the small little square, and then it's going to pop into the bigger square, and then go back to a small one. Okay? So now that is the basic coding of your Arduino dot matrix. Like I said before, you can go in, you can adjust each slide if you want to use all 8. You can use as many print byte commands as you need. So just to go over that one more time, if I wanted to add more, you know what, we could type it out. We could also cheat too and highlight this. Okay, and click our next line and hit Control V, which copies it. And then we can change that B to a C. So now it's going to print slides, or show slides A, B, and C on your dot matrix board. And you can go do this going all the way down to I.